Yeah, we're creatives at the end of the day, but if you want to start a business, you also have to be a business like owner at the end of the day, because like even though video work is creative, it's just like any other business.
All right, guys, I am here with my guest today, Giancarlo Paone. He is the founder of Hudson Films. He is the creative director there as well, right? And Giancarlo, thanks so much for jumping on.
Glad to be here, Bobby.
Awesome. Well, look, I always love starting at the top of people's video journeys. So why don't you kind of run us through your resume here, where you were, what you're doing, and where you're at?
Yeah, so how I got started in video, right? So
Yep.
my journey is a little different from most. I didn't go to film school. I really don't have like a formal background in video at all. I've always been kind of creative. I was a magician growing up. So like all throughout high school, I would do like community shows and bar mitzvahs, doing, magic for these events. So I've always been kind of creative. And I went to school for marketing. My final semester at school at Rutgers, I took a video editing class. And I took the class, and although I was awful, editing was very, very complicated at first. I just instantly fell in love with it, and I started perfecting my skills. At first, I was making magic videos because that's just what I knew best. And I graduated college, and I got a 9 to 5 job, got a few 9 to 5 jobs, and I figured out that 9 to 5 jobs are just not my thing. I don't really fit into the corporate structure at all. I realized that I'm a very like entrepreneurial person, and I said, well, hey, I don't have a lot of experience with video, but it's the one thing I know pretty good. So let me take the little knowledge I have of video and try to turn it into a business. And that's what I've been doing now for a little over 3 years now.
I love that. So that's at Hudson Films, correct?
Yes,
So
yes.
so run me through Hudson Films. What kind of work do you guys do over there as a production house? What do you guys specialize in? Let's build it
Yes,
out
there's
from
a
there.
few things we specialize in. We work mostly with businesses around the tri-state area, specializing in real estate, right? So there's a few things that we do. We either do, large scale, very cinematic brand films that you'd see like on a company's website or the first thing on their social media. Um, or we just do full on social media management with them, creating content on a monthly basis. And then, particularly for real estate, we also do home tours, like very luxurious home tours, especially in Manhattan, because that's where I'm based. But a little bit of everything.
Okay. So I know that real estate is usually a pretty interesting and I don't want to say easy, but it's a pretty common entry point for I feel like a lot of people starting out in the video sector to get their start in real estate. What made you want to choose real estate as your kind of entry point into
Yeah.
film?
Yeah. I didn't even do it because there's a large market for it, because I know there is, right? It's like the one market that you need to find clients that actually have money to spend,
Yep.
like they have a budget, right? And a lot of times, people want to do fashion or music or something like super creative, and although that is really cool, a lot of times people don't have the budget to spend. So what's nice about real estate is that a lot of these realtors and brokerages have the money to spend. But the reason I really got into real estate is that I've always been interested in real estate. I got my real estate license when I was 18 and started doing rentals in the city. So I went to Rutgers and I would take the train in every weekend and do rentals and just not really to make money, but just kind of learn how real estate is done. And then my journey is very, very, very all over the place, as you'll see in as I explain my journey. But then I wanted to do real estate development. I got like a love for investing and doing development, and interned for a few development companies. And before I actually started Hudson Films for a brief time, I went to NYU for real estate development, their master's program. And it was kind of there that I realized, hey, like this corporate life is not for me.
Hmm.
Although I love real estate, maybe it's something that, I don't want to do for a company necessarily, but I can, learn the skills and eventually maybe do it down the line, investment or development myself.
That's awesome, and that's such a cool way of building out the skill set and eventually landing on the video. Obviously, this is something that you're passionate about, trying to find the workaround and being on the outside of the industry you love while still contributing to it.
And
That's really cool.
exactly. And it's great because I work with a lot of investors and realtors, and because I've done a little bit of this, I'm able to talk to them like, about their industry. I'm not just like any other videographer. Like I actually know how like sales are done and development is done. So, I think there's like a level of trust there that people see when I start talking to them.
I think that's so important. I think for so
Yeah,
many people in video production, especially if you're trying to build up your own shop, if you're trying to build up your own brand, being able to eloquently speak the language of your clients automatically gets that rapport buy-in from them more than anything else. And I think also picking one set of people that you want to work with and getting really good at creating content for them is important as
exactly.
well.
I think picking a niche is super important because like nobody wants to be a master of none and just do like everything, right? Maybe you'll get like leads from different sources, but I think picking a niche is really, really important at first. Definitely when you're first starting out.
Hmm. Yeah, totally agree. So Hudson Films,
Yes.
solo operation. You guys got a team over there.
Yeah.
What's the makeup of
So
Hudson
I'm
Films?
really I'm really the head of everything, right? And I don't have anybody full time, but I utilize as many part time people as I can. I think bringing on a full time person, as maybe is a big leap,
Yep.
right? So up until that point, I think what's best is try to leverage part time people and virtual assistants, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So I've got 2 to 3 video producers that I'll bring on shoots whenever I need to. And more of my consistent people are I have 2 virtual editors based out of Pakistan and the Philippines, and they kind of help expedite all of my editing work.
Yep.
Like, for example, like, 20% of the stuff that I do that's really, really cinematic, like brand films and whatnot, like I'll handle most of that editing. Maybe the editors will help like expedite the cutting of the footage, right? But mostly the editors are used for like the short form, basic kind of content that you could just kind of keep pushing out.
Hmm.
Not something that's like super super cinematic.
Yeah, we work with two VAs at BAM, at least on
Hmm.
the video team, and we have many more on like the admin side of stuff as well at BAM. And it's awesome to be able to have people on your team who are at that skill level, right?
Hmm.
And totally virtual. The one thing that you hit on it perfectly that I always dissuade people from is if you're going to get a video VA, understand that your biggest projects that you're going to give them will usually be short stuff because of the internet and time turnaround. I feel like that's something that so many people sleep on when it's like, hey, I got to get this project where it's like, it's going to take 3 days to upload this 10 gigs of 4K footage.
Exactly. Exactly. You got to think about the logistics too. It's not just like here's some footage, get it done,
Yep.
right? And again, with like the more cinematic, complicated stuff, like, as good as you can be at managing somebody and telling them, hey, this is my vision, a lot of times, they won't really see your visions. That's why I think it's best to just do like the straightforward content, especially when you're working with virtual assistants.
Hmm. Hmm. Totally agree. So, two directions I want to go in. Number
Yes.
one, obviously you're working with a lot of freelancers, you're working with VAs. What is your kind of communication look like? What does your workflow look like from clients a lead to clients delivered finished project? How are you guys project managing, communicating? What's the optimal way that you guys are getting videos at the
Yeah. Are
door?
you are you saying directly with like virtual editors, or are you saying with my clients?
Across everybody, the clients, the team, what is your thing? Are you guys on Frame? Are you guys on Monday? I know that
Yeah,
so
yeah.
many
So I'll
people.
tell you, with our virtual editors, everything's done through Slack. We
Okay.
have like different Slack channels depending on the client, right? So one client's name, and then everything about the client in that one channel, and then so on and so forth. That's really how we do everything. Everything's done through Dropbox. I'll simply, once all the videos are done, I'll do comments directly on the timestamps if we
Mhm.
need any edits. But it's basically like that.
I like that. So in terms of building out your own agency, because I feel like of all the people I've talked to on the podcast, you're the first person who, from a video production angle, is really sort of sticking their flag in the ground and making a name for themselves on their own. So
Mhm.
I know that this is such a big thing that people who are in video want to do. So let's walk through the steps here. What made you want to get into building your own brand up? How'd you do it? And kind of the pitfalls that you fell in that you can help other people avoid.
Yeah, well, like you said, a lot of videographers want to create their own business and kind of scale. And the number one thing keeping everybody from scaling and creating their own business is, of course, lead generation. You need to be generating leads because without that, you have no business, right? So it all started with how do I generate leads? How do I generate as many leads as possible? And I think one big point in generating leads is creating a brand that somebody can look to and say, okay, they do great work, but not only do they do great work, they've worked with all these other clients and we can trust them. I think like having somebody like trust you is a very big thing, especially in the types of clients that we're dealing with, more like high end, clients that, want somebody that doesn't want their time wasted, right? I think that's a big thing. So that's really why I created the brand and why I started creating content is for lead generation.
Gotcha. So, in terms of lead gen, I know videography and video services in general are a little bit standalone compared to like if you were running like an e-com brand or something more physically service based.
Mhm.
Run me through your lead gen pipeline. Are you guys using a lead magnet? Are you putting ad spend behind that? Because I know video on its own can be a hard thing to quantify to prospective clients sometimes.
And I think that's something that we're still trying to figure out, right? It's always an evolution, especially when you're, any person that's running a business. I don't think any business owner can say, yeah, we've got it totally figured out. We're always testing and playing with new things. But I can tell you quite recently, and I think a great investment for a lot of business owners is hiring a virtual assistant that is their only task is appointment setting,
Hmm.
right? And they can do that through a variety of channels, right? One is just getting a list of cold emails, right? And that could be from different brokerages or different email lists that we can buy. I think another great tool is LinkedIn, searching through LinkedIn based on different companies or different industries, and finding certain people, marketing directors that we would reach out to, and then of course Instagram and Facebook as well. So a variety of that. But like I said, it's always an evolution. We're always trying to figure out what works best, because at the end of the day, we don't have like a full fledged 10-20 person team where we have the budget to really hone in and figure out what's our best ROI. That's something that we're honestly still trying to figure out.
Sure, sure. So when your ISA, when your appointment setters are reaching out to these
Mhm.
people, what is the campaign there? Is it like a one call, then it's a discovery? What is the kind of, if you were to lay out the blueprint of, is it a freebie offer?
Mhm.
Walk me through that and for everybody listening at home.
Yeah, so basically we offer a free social media audit, and that's going to be the social media audit's going to be done through a consultation call.
Hmm.
And on that call, basically I'll tell them, what's good and what's bad about their social media. And then while we're on the call, naturally, we're going to be starting to talk about, hey, how I can help them, right? And, asking them different questions. And that initial call turns into a discovery call where I start figuring out about their business and, really, how I can help them. Right. So that's the basics of it. So you could say that that first call, the social media audit, is our lead magnet.
Gotcha. Cool. Are you, so it's just cold outreach? Or are you guys putting in kind of ad spend behind
Yeah,
this
mostly
audit?
mostly cold outreach. I do want to start playing with a lot more ads. That's honestly something that I don't have a lot of experience with, but I think
Hmm.
it's worthwhile. But like I said, as a business owner, we're always trying to play with different methods. So there's always more to be done, right?
Of course. I mean, look, New York, I feel like is a very interesting place to be doing what you do because there's such polar opposites between people who are working a lot of maybe lower ticket deals and then people who are doing really big blockbuster deals. So, who is your ideal avatar? What was the process of trying to find that person? Is it team leaders? Is it solo people? How are you kind of targeting people within the real estate industry to deliver video?
Sure, that's a great question. So, I mean, at first, I was working just like any other videographer. I was working with very low budget clients. And I think one day I think I pitched somebody on like a $5,000 plus video, just a single video, and that turned out to be like not only my best project, the best work I've done, but the easiest client I've worked with up until that point. And I realized, hey, like, these clients that have more money, they're willing to just let you do your thing and trust you that you're going to get the work done. Rather than a client that doesn't have a lot of money, they're going to be penny pinching and micromanaging you and saying, hey, can you edit this? And can we do like
Can
five,
we
ten?
change the song? Can we change the
Exactly.
song?
That would happen all the time, like 5, 10 rounds of edits, and it would be ridiculous. So I realized that, hey, like, not only am I producing better work, which will get me more leads, right? But it's just easier to deal with the higher end clients as well. So I think like a year after I started the company, I realized like, hey, like I only want to work with like the top 1% of real estate brokers out there. That doesn't mean I won't work with other brokers, but what I'm targeting is that top 1% of brokers. So
Gotcha.
yeah, I would say that's my target avatar is, like I said, we work in mostly most businesses, but if I was to do cold outreach, it'd be the top 1% of brokers in Manhattan and in the tri-state area as well.
How are you obviously cold outreach through call and through email?
Hmm.
Is it just the numbers game? What is obviously top 1% is a busy day. What is your way to get these people on the phone to hold their
I know
attention?
it's
And
it's very hard to get in front of their face because the amount of people reaching out to them for different offers is probably unheard of. But I think there's two different things to keep in mind, right? First of all, is to customize all your emails, right? So when a top 1% agent reads an email, they want to see that, hey, like this person actually knows about my brand. They've seen my work, right? They're just not another person that doesn't know anything about me. That's just sending, a standard email, right? So I think really knowing their brand and customizing your email so they see the work that you put in prior to reaching out is one thing. And then the second thing, like you said, is just it's a numbers game at the end of the day. You got to really put out a lot of different work numbers because no matter how good you are at sales and customizing your email, most of the time they're not going to respond.
yep.
Right. So that's why you got to just keep following up. Maybe if we were to send out 100 emails, I think we'd be lucky if we got 2 or 3 responses. Right. So it's literally just a numbers game and following up on the same people all the time and trying to do it in different methods. Sometimes we'll send a cold email. Sometimes we'll send like a custom video, kind of just like talking one on one with the client. So we're always experimenting on that end, but I think just numbers and following up is a big factor in that for sure.
Are you a video creator looking to set your work apart, whether it's in your own freelance business or for a brand? Then you should check out BAMX. BAMX has the best courses, communities, and live stream in the entire real estate community. And I know what you're probably thinking, Bobby, but you don't sell houses. Correct. But I also create videos for the #1 real estate media site on the internet. And my DMs get flooded with people asking me, Bobby, how do you make those captions? Bobby, how do you set up your podcast? Bobby, what camera do I use? I answer all of these questions and more in BAMX. More to the point, you get access to me and all the other BAM creators through our private Facebook group. This is a resource that I wish it was available to me when I was just starting out, and I hope that you'll join us there and find value in it. Use code Bobby23 for 20% off. Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like so few creators I talk to, you're one of the only few that have a sales background. I have a sales background as well, so I
Mhm.
completely see the video process as a sales thing. It's all about the numbers, it's all about the videos, it's all about getting your work in front of the right people and building on sort of
For
that
sure.
kind of referral network.
And I
Yep.
think that's what a lot of people that want to start like a video business forget is that like, yeah, we're creatives at the end of the day, but if you want to start a business, you also have to be a business like owner at the end of the day. Because like even though video work is creative, it's just like any other business, right? No matter if you're selling an e-com course or doing video, it's the same kind of strategies that you're using to help sell the product you offer, right? So I think you've really got to be business oriented in order to generate leads and scale your video business
Yeah, I call it you got to be a closer with a camera.
for sure. for sure. And I think
Nice.
another great note is that, like, at first, in order to get in front of these top 1% agents' faces, because as I said, it's very hard and it's a numbers game. At first, I think a great idea for videographers is to offer a free video, just saying,
Hmm.
hey, like, let me do a free, completely free video for you guys. Because, first of all, right, what do they have to lose? The agent has nothing to lose if they're going to bring you on to do a free video. And second of all, by doing the free video, if you do a good job, then you've instantly built credibility and you've built trust with this realtor. So if you do a good job on that first project, chances are that you're probably going to be working with them a lot down the line.
Of course. And obviously, in the real estate space right now, specifically, there's a large shift in terms of market correction on rates. It's, a little bit harder to find houses. How are you, if you are at all, shifting your pitch during times like this where maybe people are looking at their P&L a little bit differently? And how are you presenting the value behind your video to people
Yeah,
like that?
to be honest, that's a great question, and I know that is a factor at the moment. To be honest, we're not doing really much, right? Business has slowed down a little bit because of those factors, but we haven't really done a lot on that end. Because I mean, what do you think? What would be a good idea to like sell people on during these times? Because I don't know, nothing's come to mind for me.
My crazy idea is listings. I haven't quite figured out how to do that, but I know that's the thing that everybody's chasing right now, especially once rates go down and that little bit of inventory gets unlocked. I think being able to present at the listing pitch a video product
Hmm.
and being able to convey that to the real estate agent, like, look, here is a video on top of your listing video, right? Like, here is a marketing package, and really being able to streamline that to the agent who can then do that to the prospective client, right? That's kind of what I would say. I think a lot of this dancing on TikTok stuff or like the fake podcast to camera, I think that's cool. That's a
Hmm.
passing fad. It's a nice way to make a couple bucks here and there. But I think helping people build their book of business, especially in an education sense, right? So
Hmm.
educating clients on why it's a good time to sell, having them follow up with that client at a listing appointment, sign the listing, do a great listing video. That would be kind of my step process
So yeah,
there.
so you're thinking selling them more on the listing video side of things, right?
Listing video side of things, but also practical education, right?
Of
Like, here's the five best restaurants in New York.
course.
That's cool. That's nice. That's, fluff on top. Here's why you should sell your home even if rates are high is a
Mhm.
much more valuable piece of video, especially if done in a persuasive, good way, in my opinion.
For sure, I totally agree, and I think that's something a lot of realtors get wrong is doing too much of this like TikTok cheesy dancing stuff, right? Because they see that's what works for other people, but like it could work depending on the scenario. I think everything could work if you present in the right light. But at the end of the day, you're a professional, like, person. So you want to be seen in that light, right? But I definitely agree with you. I think, like, putting more effort on listing videos during this time is definitely a good idea because that's the number one thing that realtors want are listing videos. And then once they've got their bases covered with listing videos, then they'll start doing like the personal content and trying to elevate their personal brand. But what in my experience, what I've seen is before they even start doing any personal branding stuff is that they start with their listing videos.
Yep.
And I think that's a definitely a great entryway into working with somebody on a long-term basis is doing the listing videos.
Not even on top of that, it's just like, hey, how can I have you be the most knowledgeable person in the market that you're looking to build, right?
Hmm.
Like, how can you be the person that when somebody sees your content, gets so much value from it that when they're ready to list their house, even if it's not in ideal circumstances, you're top of mind.
Hmm. I totally agree with that, and that's something I think we do with a lot of our clients is doing like really value-based content, but not making it so stale, adding a little bit of life to it, right? So you could see like not only is this person really knowledgeable, but hey, they have a little bit of personality as well, right? Because as we know, real estate is a people is a people to people industry, right? So if somebody likes you, they're probably going to work with you, right? So I think that's equally as important, is kind of showcasing their personality as well, right?
Of course. So let's get into the nitty gritty on production stuff
Yeah.
here, right? Listing videos, especially in New York, how do you make your videos stand out? What are you shooting on? What's your editing workflow? What makes a Hudson Films video the video that needs to be chosen?
Sure. I mean, I think the one thing that makes a Hudson Films video is making it just look sexy. I think that's a big thing. Just making it look a sexy listing video, because like selling New York, it's like a very, in most cases, right? You can have your shoe in the like shoebox listing that like nobody even wants to like touch or look at. But a lot of the films that we do are like higher end lofts and penthouses. So in that respect, I try to make it look sexy. And I think a big thing to do that is it all starts with the music, right? Picking like a sexy, nice soundtrack.
Yep.
I spend a lot of time on that. I think that's the primary thing. And then on top of that, I think the one thing that easily makes a video better is doing drone shots. So even though it's very tricky to get drone shots in the city, because the last thing you want to
Yep.
do is crash into a building, right? And I've definitely had my fair share of scares with that. But I think that's a great thing to do, is just adding drone to any listing video, because then not only are you like showcasing the actual listing, but then you get the entire vibe of the area and the neighborhood, right? So I think
Of course. I mean, so in terms of your editing, right? Are you prioritizing, like, what is the focal point of the house? Are you building a story around it?
Mhm.
How are you positioning the visuals on screen to match the value of the listing?
Sure. I mean, so oftentimes we'll pitch the realtor two different ideas, right? You have your standard listing video, which is literally just maybe an intro by the agent and shots of the entire home, minus maybe a shitty bathroom or something, right?
Yeah.
With just some music. And then another thing that we often pitch that we don't do as much, but what we'll do for like penthouses or like amazing townhouses, is doing like a scripted video with like actors or a voiceover of some sort, right? So in that scenario, yes, we do have a storyline, because we're having actors showcase like what the day in the life of living here would be, right?
Walk me through the ideation on that, because that's very interesting. I was hanging out with, I don't know if you know who, Brad McCallum.
Sure, I've heard of the name, yeah.
So Brad McCallum, in my opinion, does up in Canada some of the most high quality cinematic listing videos.
Mhm.
His stuff is next level when we're
Mhm.
talking video over there. And he, like, if you watch some of his stuff, he's on the same thing, hiring actors, placing the scene as it were. So walk me through your ideation there. How do you do all that?
Yeah, I think it all starts with like taking a look at the full listing, the full neighborhood, and picking different elements that stand out, right? Maybe it's got amazing views. Maybe it's an amazing neighborhood. Maybe it's got 12-foot ceilings. So whatever it is, it's just picking out the features and really accentuating those features through the script. And then on top of that, I've literally just done so much brainstorming that I have an entire Google Doc of like 100 different listing video ideas. So whenever somebody comes to me, they're like, "Hey, like I have this like amazing listing. I want to do something a little bit different with it." I'll literally look at the Google Doc and just see what idea may work for that particular listing. Now, the easiest idea is just, hey, like do a day in the life. Like, what would be
Mm,
a day in the life? But if you want to do something a little bit different, I also have other ideas as well.
let's hear him. Let's
I
hear
don't even, I don't
the
even know.
out of pocket ones.
I have to go through my entire Google Doc right now. I don't even have it on the moment at the moment.
Okay, it's all good. So when you're pitching these listing video packages, are you what is kind of the final deliverable structure there going? Are you going, hey, you'll get one 16 by 9 minute and a half video?
Mhm.
Are you saying it's long form
Yeah.
and a couple clips? How have you kind of evolved your offer to different clients?
So we have different packages. So for most things, we have three different packages. For most listing videos, we'll do a standard, horizontal video, and then I'll create an Instagram version, probably like a shorter version.
Hmm.
Say the horizontal version is maybe like a 2 minute full listing video, and I'll also create like a 30-second vertical video that showcases just the best features of the home, right? But I think it's important. Like, I think, maybe if we were talking a few years ago, like everything would be horizontal, right?
Mm.
But because times have changed so much, right, vertical video is king now. So I think it's important that, whatever video that you're shooting, at least have one vertical version of it.
Of course, of course. And speaking of vertical video, you do a lot of your own content as well. I know I
Yes.
see you on the
Yes.
reels and stuff. Walk me through that. Is that obviously to build up the brand personally, but
Yeah.
are you batching your stuff? Because I feel like, at least even with my own stuff, it gets A, hard with time, but B, like you're doing this so much, you almost get to the point where like, I don't want to look at the fucking, I can't film or edit one more thing, let alone with me in it. So walk me through that. What is your process of balancing the two? What do you prioritize in your own content to kind of funnel and grow and support your own business as well?
Yeah. So like I was saying, I mean, I think lead generation, it all starts with the brand. So like having like a sleek cinematic video that showcases your brand, I think it's really important. And showing the face behind the company, I think is super important as well, because now there's a personality that somebody can actually connect with versus just like a corporate brand with no personality, right? But like I said, I've kind of been always like a creative performer. So being in front of the camera is not anything new to me, and I kind of like it at times. But it does get a lot of work sometimes, and that's why, I mean, I'm only filming. I batch all the content, but I'm only filming maybe once every 2 or 3 months. I'll do,
Really?
I'll
Okay.
do one full day. I think a lot of it is just thinking of the ideas, right, and how to structure the ideas, right. And once I have all the ideas and all the structure of the videos planned out, I'll film everything within one day, maybe 20 videos within one day. So
Gotcha.
in that scenario, it doesn't get. I mean, the day that I film gets very taxing and it's a lot of work, right? But like in between, it's just thinking of ideas, right? And I'm constantly thinking of ideas, so I'm always writing in my notes section like, "Hey, this is a great idea to do," and I'll do that whenever I film.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
So I kind of want to, as we bring it in for a landing here, want to speak kind of to that next generation of people
yeah.
who are looking to build up their own brand, who are looking to get into real estate. If you went back 3 years, knowing everything you know now, what is the advice you'd give yourself to help you get to where you are today faster?
Mm, it's a great question. Yeah, I think it's just like realizing that you've got to run your videography business as an actual business, right? You could be creative, you could be the most talented videographer in the world, but without honing on your business skills, you'll never develop an actual business and generate the leads that you need to, keep something sustained.
You got any top of mind names of people who you drew inspiration from and who helped you kind of get to where you are in terms of business literacy online?
The business literacy online. So yeah, I mean, I just did a little video that I posted that you might have seen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Doing like my 60-second version of $100 Million Leads by Alex Hermosi. So I think Hermosi, following him, learning the digital marketing principles that he preaches is super important. Um, but really, I credit a lot of my success to working with Sirhan, which I did about 3 years ago at the conception of everything. I work with them, and I really, I was never a 9 to 5 person, but I worked with them for a brief 6 month period, and I saw firsthand what it really takes to build like an A class social media, right? I
Mm.
saw like the effort they put into every single post and the attention to detail they put into every single thing that they do. So I really took everything that I learned working for them and applied it to what I do at Hudson Film. So although I say that I'm not a big fan of 9 to 5 jobs, I think, if you're first getting your start, maybe possibly getting an in-house job with, one of these production companies or social media influencers is a good start, because you'll learn, how they do it and how, much detail they pay attention to when they're creating their content.
Of course. I mean, Ryan's a beast when it comes
Hmm.
to his content, and I definitely think that calling out the attention to detail, brand uniformity, and doing that again and again and
Hmm.
again. The way I explain it to people is like, oh well, we tried a different font here and there. I'm like, great restaurants are great because every time you go there, the meal is equally as good,
Hmm.
and the minute it's not, it sticks out like a sore
Exactly.
thumb, right?
Exactly.
And that's kind of the ethos, at least we put behind all of our edits, where it's like, all right, what makes us great, and how do we stick to that, even if it's evolving over time.
Uh-huh. And I think brand guidelines are something I preach to a lot of my clients, because I say, like, the one thing that'll make you look not professional is having like different formatted videos here or there, different font, different color, because then it's like, yeah, where are these videos coming from, right? So I think uniformity is really important. That's definitely something I learned working there.
Awesome. Well, look, Giancarlo, if you want people to find you, where can they find you? If they want to learn more about Hudson Films, plug all your stuff.
Yes. You can find my personal page at Giancarlo. That's Giancarlo. I know it's a tongue twister. Underscore NYC. That's my personal page on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You can also find Hudson Films at Hudson underscore films. And also, you can visit our website at hudsonfilms.co. So, looking forward to connecting with you all if you have any questions.
Of course. And look, there is so much stuff that I think the audience can stand to learn from you. I'd love to do a part two down the road about growing your brand over time, the next time check in, kind of see like where you are over time. Because I feel like so many people getting into the industry can point to you as like it's possible, I can do it, and I can do it at a high level.
Hey, I'm still growing here though. There's always stuff to learn. I think that's a big thing. It's like it's always an evolution, right? So I'm always learning. So hopefully when we do have that next conversation, I've learned even more and implemented even more. And the same to you. I know you just started the podcast, right?
Yeah, we started about a month and a half ago
Okay.
because I feel like, especially in what we do, right? And I think that was kind of the through line on this episode here is so many people go to video from an artistry standpoint,
Mhm.
and that's fine,
Yeah.
right? But the biggest movies every year aren't the artistic movies. There's a reason Marvel is $1 trillion franchise. It's
Exactly.
because they understand how to position a brand and position content in a way that's effective, but will also get you to buy the ticket, buy the shirt, buy the toy, buy the this, buy the that. And that's all video is. There's like my joke is like all videographers should work in sales because that's what you're doing.
Mhm.
You're just visually pitching.
Yeah, I think it's like the the more creative you are, the less you can scale, right? So although it is great to be creative and it makes the video look a lot better, you can't scale as much and you can't take as many clients on. So I think it's balancing those two ends, being creative while also, being having like a system, right, that you can follow is super important.
I love it. I love it. Giancarlo, thank you so much for your time, man. And we'll catch up again soon.
Looking forward to chatting soon.